Hello, Ohana. Hello, self. Hello, Soul Dr. Nick. It's February 18th, 2025. This is mirror work. This is me seeing myself, look at myself, even though it's like 4 something in the morning. Tired. And I'm not. Again, it's so funny just to jump into the story. There's so many things. This is not really for everyone else. This is for me. That's why I'm looking at myself. I'm making these black and white to kind of distinguish them from all the other videos. And maybe at some point this will be of value, some AI scraping this generative AI and all that fun stuff. And right now this is for me. I'm looking at myself and not at the camera. And I've got some busy stuff today. I will have a call with Elena, a call with Marika, and a call with Brent. And I have an idea of all those calls and I have no idea. And then I jump off into the future. This video will be jumping all around. So if you somehow started watching this, I really warn you, this is probably not the way you want to go, and it's up to you. There's going to be a lot that's generated out of this, though. So there's a reason for doing this. It's as if I'm staring into a mirror and just happening to publish on the YouTube as well. And I'm recognizing what's possible if I actually be with myself for hours at a time. And it's funny, that 10,000 hour thing, I've definitely done that for my self-development map of consciousness, all that stuff. And I'm looking at the next phase of it. A big part is, how do I learn how to be with me in a whole another level? And as I am letting the parts that want to melt down, the question that came up in the Life Masters group is, who am I? Who am I? And over and over again, and I'm catching the we, I can look at my roles and my identities and my achievements and my accomplishments, and that's not who I am. Those are just some ways to describe me that makes it easier. That's part of the reason why I've kept the doctor, the MD, because it's the easiest way almost to convey a sense of accomplishment, education, intellect, and trust and safety. For those who see that as trust and safety, it could be completely the opposite for some, and that's part of the reason some people are like, why don't you drop that? But yeah, I can see that it puts things in a different level right away. Whatever stereotype, whatever categorization is there. I'm just taking a second to slow down. There's a tightness around my chest. As I'm contemplating going into these calls, there's a part that, because they're for me, everything is for me now. But especially this first call with Elena, it's almost like my own coaching integration call from the Master Planning for Life. And what do I do to make the most of this? Like, that's what my brain's yelling out over and over again, and that's not the best question. And I like Dr. Demartini, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions. And so right now, today, it will be diving and saying, what are the deeper questions? But I'm going to go in a roundabout way. First, I'm going to go to the thing my brain keeps going to. It's like, I can't wait in the future to have a home podcasting studio, to have guests come by, have like a guest little house or something nearby. And so many things that we'd want to incorporate, like the custom build, the grounding, the natural materials, the natural cleaners, the EMF-free environments, the great lighting, the feel of things. Like, that's the part that I'm going to lean on my beloved to tap into. Really, that's probably part of what has us making all these investments in these things right now, to have great food, great stuff, is not just for us, but who do we invite in? And then for me, I'm thinking of eventually, how do I create the co-living spaces that I want to be in? Like, it's funny being in this building, they had a sewage backup yesterday. It's like, oh my God, how is this happening? And yes, it can happen. And how to build something deliberately for the people living in it, by people who live in the buildings that they build, and then also work together to make it more community over and over. Like, we were talking about how is it that the playroom, we don't have regular like gatherings with the parents to be like, hey, we don't all have to take care of our children 100% of the time. whoever wants to come join. It's not mandatory, but it helps to build and foster more trust. And that's a piece I can see very clearly is trust amongst parents. It just isn't the same as it used to be. And part of it is all the media coverage about all the abuses and things that come out. And then all the fears, like, oh, what if this happens? Like, it happens to the people that are closest, so how can I trust anyone else? It's hard enough just trusting ourselves in a way. And for me, I can recognize my own frustration because I'm like, there's so much more that we could explore, do, be if there's a different level of support. And the second thing that's hard is when you actually do work with others, you have to work with their way of parenting, their styles, their consciousness, everything else. And then there's that idea of how much time should a child be away from their own parents initially. And it's exploring that. Like, I recognize that the default that I was told when we first started parenting is like, you should be able to do this. Like, dad can go away, mom can be on her own and all this stuff. And I like the other ideas, like, the only time a mother was alone with her child is when the whole tribe was dead. And so how do we actually be together? And I've taken that to heart in the sense that whenever I'm quote unquote solo parenting, most of the time I'm with other parents or getting help or support, or he's getting watched over. It's rarely that I'm on my own with him. And I prefer it that way. I don't want to parent on my own. And over and over, it's looking at how do I let go of my way being the right way. And I have ideas, and I think that's part of it too, what's coming up today. There's a want, a desire to partner with Elena and her father and actually work together, because I'm like, I can see the power of what they're doing, and it's only one course. And there's so much structure and unstructure actually. There's so much unstructure in it as well. But how do we have more different experiential processes where people get to actually see what arises in self, where they get to integrate the teachings in a guided way? And that's what I feel I do well. I create safe spaces for that. And that's in my head. I don't know. And there's a fear of me of saying it out loud. Will I offend? Will I be pushy? Am I actually bypassing what it is that can serve me? And there's that other part, right? Like, how, if I actually want this coaching and guidance, how do I have it guide me versus how am I trying to make business? Don't know what that noise was. Clear the energy. Just heard a noise and just feeling a little chill, so I'm just reminding myself to create a safety bubble. And there's always a safety bubble around. But part of it is noticing the mind. There's almost an innate little fear now, or a sensation in the gut of what my brain is trying to say is unsafety. And then I remind myself, wherever I am in the cosmos, I'm safe. And this is my human form, my infinite, eternal being is somewhere, probably tuning into this. And I am appreciating this mirror work because it's helping me to see what's lurking in the backgrounds. And then as I'm saying it, it's funny, the word is lurking. The language that I'm using with myself. And if I can practice as I practice, not modulating it and awareness of it. And it's what's helped me be really good with clients and others is I'm listening to the words they're using. And I'm at my best, I think, when I don't try to correct it right away, when I listen to it without actually, without correcting, because sometimes there's such a desire to correct right away. It's like that part of watching a child and trying to get them to do things right all the time. And I can see how that's a story that I've been told about myself, especially with math. Mathematics, apparently I got addition, subtraction, division, multiplication like in an hour in a bathtub at the age of like 3. And then going to school almost had me unlearn it because I wasn't doing it the way someone else wanted. And I'm recognizing sovereignty. Like, how can I be sovereign for someone else and their thinking, feeling, process? Observe it, reflect some of it back, be that mirror, without trying to change it in the moment, because then people and myself, I can see even in this work, I could be trying to correct myself. And that's part of the reason to keep coming back to this is me for me. Not me for posting for someone else, not me for trying to look a certain way. Because if that's the case, then I am not getting the full benefit that I could. And this will benefit others at some point in time, more so because of how I'm impacting my own map of consciousness right now, my own awareness. And I'm really appreciating having dropped into that David Hawkins power versus force and seeing what's there. There's so many aspects to learn still. And that's the piece too. I can see, how do I let go of being an experience junkie and an education junkie and trying to take the next course. And I just signed up for the next Clear Sight course, and I have the breakthrough experience coming up, and I have desires to do like the apprenticeship with Judy, and then it's like, oh, I'm tired. And I've been working on the business for the last 2 months, not really having as much business. And I think I'm getting a little lost too. Each of the times that I work, it helps to recenter and reset me. This week I've got 2 main breaths. I've got the Ohana breath and I've got the unconventional breath in person. And it'll probably be really good to do a group breath in person again. I've been doing that with Judy and her apprenticeship, and they've been really good. And part of it for me is such a reminder I don't want to deal with the logistics of things. I've been offered chances to partner with and to bring people in, and how do I stratify what are the important opportunities to start pursuing? Big yawns, yawning lights up the whole brain. It's not just tired, it's not just bored. I mean, it's funny, I'm bored of myself, and I am at times. I'm bored of the familiar pattern. And I can see that because I get bored, frustrated even, when I see familiar patterns in the people that I love. And I forget that they're reflecting back the familiar patterns I have. And it's like, I kept asking yesterday, what do you want today to my beloved? And she said, you've asked that already. I'm like, okay. It can sound like such an inviting question, an open question, a question that allows someone else to choose. And if it's a thing that just keeps coming up, part of it is probably me abdicating my own responsibility of what do I want and being able to be clear with that and use that as a starting place. And that's probably part of today with the session, especially with Elena. What do I want? Right? And I'm noticing the 1% journal, I still haven't started yet. I have it, and I haven't started yet. And that might be a thing to do too. I'm bringing up my writing stuff because I'm realizing this is for me. So I can look away, I can write. I'm trying to make this time more meaningful. What do I want out of today? Bought a ton of veggies yesterday for juicing, like over $100 worth. So much celery, fennel, parsley. And the day before I bought so much for beets and carrots. And so we've got lots and lots for juice. And apples, so many Pink Lady apples. They didn't have good oranges, and so I'm recognizing I don't need to buy what doesn't look good. And I really appreciate that insight, organic, yes, biodynamic, ideal, because organic is just the absence, ideally actually, of pesticides. But even then, it could just be a label. Like, there's so many middlemen now. How do we get direct to the source? And that's part of it with the work that I'm trying to do, is get clearer and cleaner sourcing in this spiritual world, in this esoteric world, in this healing world. And it's not to say that I'm better than others. Rather, I'm clear about what it is that I am providing. I'm clear about this company. I'm clear about this program. And this is part of my own crux, I think. Having not created any clients yet, with the new program, with the new founding of the business, it's like, okay, do you actually believe in what you're doing? Because if I just got the evidence, I'd be like, see everyone, it's working. And for me, can I actually own that this is already working before it works? It's that certainty. And then start planning for what's next already. And for me, planning for how do we start having more standard operating procedures? How do we have more group things? How do we have more set parameters for the before, the ceremony, the afterwards? And then as I'm thinking about that on my own right now, I'm like, oh, it's so much, it's tiring. Oh, let's just go to bed. And it's funny that comes up. So I woke up this morning so hot, like I actually had to kick the sheets off. I was sweating. And then my little man next to me had to kick the sheets off of him too. It was so funny that as I did it, he had to do it too. I could see. And I wanted to get out of bed right away. And then my cat just jumped on me. It's like, all right, just be here now for a moment. And it's noticing, I think I'm tuning into my higher future self because I'm asking for that. There's a lift off that's going on. There's a rocket ship that's going on. And I think there's a clearing and a burning. It's almost like there was a fever. And right now I'm probably in the post-fever recovery phase. And drinking my green juice. Having my tea. Doing the next layer of work. Maybe I'll be doing some hape or rape later this morning before the call. That might actually be really important too. It's been a while. Building the playlist out for this week. Haven't done that yet either. I just started, I at least dropped one song into each. It's funny because in the back of my mind, there's still that little doubt that lives there. What if I'm just gonna fuck it all up? What if I'm just a fraud? Imposter syndrome. It's all these parts. And I can see it now. It's easy to, these days, be like, Elon Musk must be an alien. Like, he's getting all these clues, technology, all this stuff. And perhaps, yes. And I'm grateful to read a book like Liftoff, where it's like, also, they worked fucking hard. Most of them are burnt out. And are burnt out from that role. And his management style, they acknowledge how far and how fast they went, and also the sacrifices that were there. And that kind of vision I can see of wanting to get somewhere in this lifetime, and that urgency. The urgency. I wonder, in my states of feeling that everything is perfect, I'm often trying to say, just fucking take it easy, Elon. Take it easy, Aubrey. Take it easy. And I wonder if that's still my brain, my hubris, wanting them to slow down so that I can feel like it's okay to slow down. Versus, let some people run at breakneck speed. That's what they want. If anything, probably not enough people are allowing themselves to do that when they want to. And then to actually burn out and do something else when they want to. I like that idea from Alex Hormozi. It's like, if you're in your 20s, work fucking hard. Like, find people to work with. Right now, I've got messages to send out, and that's an important reminder. Yeah, to-do lists. Voice message, Jody, re-coaching. There's some things that are more important, and that's one of them. So, what else is there right now in this moment? What else is there? Yeah, perhaps what I'll do is I'll do multiple parts today instead of one long part. Do some of the work in between, because there's a lot of things that have piled up, and it's a balance. And for me, there's a part of my ego and brain wanting to say each day is going to be fucking longer. Yesterday I did crushed out 2 hours. Let's crush out like 3 hours of this. And it's like, maybe in total it will be that. But in the interim, let's actually have some fun. Let's get some work done, because there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of great work that wants to be done right now. I remind myself I am having a great time with life. I have an amazing family. I have freedom to do things. I have freedom to contemplate. Every day I have a few hours to myself. And every day that's critical for me. And I recognized yesterday. So yesterday I realized I'm either really good in crisis. You put me in crisis, awesome. I'm also really good when I have spaciousness and creativity. Awesome. It's in between stage when someone else has their own mini crises that I don't see as a crisis, that I get a little stuck because I'm like, I don't want to throw everything behind this, but I could. I kind of want to rest because that's actually what I see is the best thing to do right now, but I feel like it's bad to rest when you feel like there's a crisis. And I think it's better being able to explain that, because I think very few things are actual crisis. I think most things, because with the sewage backup, it was like, what are our contingency plans? And I'm like, I already have some contingency plans, and I'll be planning in the background. It's not a running with my head cut off kind of thing. It's like, okay, we're good. We're safe. We're alive. We've got everything we need. Even if sewage backs up here, it sucks. We got a rooftop patio. We can open windows. I haven't figured out what I would do to plug our own toilets here. That's a piece that I remember hearing about, like, okay, when things fail and the pumps fail, the sewage will back up. And partly because we're on the 6th floor, thankfully, it'd back up last for that kind of pressure. So there's those pieces, but yeah, we've got some extra power. We've got water filters. So we've got a number of different things to keep us safe and keep us alive. And I'm reminding myself, right now we have some investments in doomsday kind of thing, right? Like, oh man, what if things happen? But the majority of what I want to invest in is for the optimal scenarios right now. How do we actually grow? This is a period of potential growth. And I like that concept. It's the quickening to the singularity right now. And in this quickening, how do we be with the quickening? I'm loving the freshness of celery, fennel, parsley, and apples right now. That's probably my favorite one. The one with the beets and the carrots is almost too potent. And I wonder if that mixture, having that late last night, was almost too potent for me. So that stuff will probably last a while. Probably 20 pounds of each was ambitious. And that's sometimes how I do things. I buy too much. Like I bought 20 pounds of beets, 20 pounds of carrots, probably another 20 pounds of apples, and like 20 pounds total of celery and fennel. So I've got like 80 pounds of veggies. Yeah. There's a part of me that when I do something, I kind of take it to the max. It's just a different kind of max. My brother, sports, athletics for sure, and education. Like he's into the paddling, he's into the skiing. His kids are into that right now. I am not, and partly I don't want to keep transitioning from one activity to another. I can recognize my own resistance even to the things I want to do, like martial arts, kendo. I'm like, oh my God, another class, another thing to do. the resistance to structure. And I was thinking today, my work feels very unstructured. Unstructured. I'm resisting the classes. I'm resisting getting bogged down, is probably the word I'd use. I am resisting being trapped. It's almost like having started breaking out of some prisons. There's a part of me that's terrified of going back into some. And also at the same time recognizing it's a prison to be afraid of prisons. I keep reminding myself and others of the games that we play. We're just playing a game. I'm just playing a game. And what is the infinite game? The infinite game is the game that keeps going, and it's not to win or lose, it's to keep playing. And I like that idea. The goal isn't to get married, it's to stay married. The goal isn't to start a business, it's to stay being in business, especially if I believe in the business. And that's part of it. How do I create the sustainability? How to create the footing for it? And what I'm gathering out of reading Liftoff is how do I keep envisioning the next thing, the next thing, the next thing? Like, I'm already envisioning the place and the people that can travel so much, great on them. And right now for us, we're creating all these natural materials because that's what we want to travel with. I want to have, when I travel, an advanced team that helps to set everything up, that has all the sheets, all the cleaners, all the scents cleared out. You know, I can recognize my beloved. She's like, you know, even Airbnb, like, however clean it is, isn't clean. And how do I do that in a good way? I'm thinking of PEI right now, jumping around, because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll invite my brother to house together if he wants to. And probably some work wants to be done. A, yes, we can run something together. B, whatever the split is. C, doing that work to reconnect as well, if we want to. And D, letting it all go. Letting it all go. Like, it'd be great to spend some time together and let it all go. So, brother wound. Approval. And it's interesting, the idea of wanting approval seems almost more powerful than trying to avoid the disapproval. But both of them actually lurk quite powerfully in my field. I'm just imagining right now what's the one that's going to affect me more, actually throw me off course more. And I'm reminding myself when I was younger, I remember at some point, and these are the things that I remember, doesn't make it true. I remember, like, I think it was my brother saying, oh, if you have a chance, go after the prettiest girl. And so my brain made a heuristic that everyone who wasn't that, I needed to not try to go after. And I could notice myself not doing it, going after someone else. And then recognizing, why am I doing this? It wasn't making me happy. It wasn't what I actually wanted. And that whole idea of prettiest is such a narrow definition. And it was looking for his approval, I think. Like the approval of someone else to say, hey, wow, look at you. I'm just trying to see what life is like, and I'm living much more in my own approval, but even now, today, when I'm grappling with what to do and my own stress of the call today, the calls, they're calls for me. Like, all three of those calls are for me. One is I've created and asked to have these calls for my own integration, for my own coaching, for my own development, for my own mentoring. How do I actually want to be mentored? Right? Part of it is actually saying these things out loud. I think today is laying a little bit of the foundation. as I lay the foundation, I can get a reflection back. Okay. Lay this foundation. And then the second call is Mareike and I founding this business together. What are we going to noodle over? What is it that's actually important to clarify? And what is it that I'm saying over and over again and I can be paused? So I'll remind her of that. Like, hey, if I'm just repeating stuff and you're like, I don't need to repeat this, tell me. And I'm going to practice being with it. And if I'm triggered initially, I'll have to see how that goes. Right? I'll have to see how that goes. And then with Brent, it's about the retreat. And the retreat is being created and nothing has been created yet. And he's had his call with Mareike, great. He's having his call or had his call with Matthew or Matt, great. Then what? It's time to create that integration call. It's time to have that website up. Oh man. For my dream to live, my father's dream has to die. It's an interesting concept and I can see it more clearly now. And I think it's noticing the different layers of my dreams, because I think I have dreams upon dreams upon dreams. I dream of hang gliding still in Norway, and there's a high possibility either paraglide or something else like that. Like, I want to have that sensation of flying in this lifetime. And I have this fear of falling. So it's being with both. And it's like right now I'm like practicing just soft gaze and better eyesight, better vision. I want to travel to so many places and explore different architecture, explore old buildings, explore castles, explore pyramids. Just be with that energy as opposed to all these new sterile buildings as well. Like, that's what a lot of these buildings are that we're in now. They're sterile. They don't have that energy, that life force, that vitality, that strength. It's like a shell. It's like, the Three Little Pigs. These are houses made of sticks. They're not made of bricks. And I'm just contemplating, looking at my dad and my beloved's dad. They both have their castle, so to speak. Arguably, ours is in better shape, and part of it's because we spent so much money on it. And I'm grateful that my parents did, because otherwise, man, that place would fall apart. And man, it's funny, one of the movies we watched early on was Money Pit, and it's kind of been a money pit. And in a way, I imagine a bit of a stuckness, a dead point, a trap, a prison. And if they're choosing it, is it actually a prison? Like, right now, prison is just the term for the place that we're in, that I'm in, and the rules that I have for myself. And most of my rules, many of my rules now, I can internally write. I have the capacity to do that. And many of them I'm not writing yet. Again, I'm going to practice noticing the difference in the eyes. I can open them both just big, but by default, for a second there, after I open them nice and big, there was a little bit of a double lid in the right eye. The left eye often has a double lid. The asymmetry of life. Clasp my hands, right thumb over left thumb. It feels natural the other way as well, but that's how it started. Interesting. It actually feels more natural with the right thumb over. The nails have a little bit of the flakiness. And I always wonder, what does that mean? Like, there's so many little things that I'm noticing, but I don't know what it means yet. And there's many things I wonder, do we actually know what it means? Technology. How I enjoy technology. It's funny because I got asked about coaching from someone who wants to go back to teacher. She used to be a teacher. And for myself, I recognized my own path there. And immediately I had a response like, oh my God, don't go do that. And that's not the right answer. How to not diminish someone else's dream first without even asking the questions. What has you think you're ready for this? What has you prepare for this? So that's probably a reminder to me not to go in too hard with what I think is already the right answer. Rather, invite them into the space of asking the better questions. What do you actually want? How do you actually want to live? What excites you? And I learned that from Dr. Demartini when he was asking, like, how much time do you actually spend on coaching? Right? Like, is it the idea of it? Or is it the actuality of it? Like, you're just doing it already. You're already getting paid for it. You just want to do it better. That's different than, I have this idea that I want to do it, so I want to take a course. It's like, okay, be coached and coach. Be coached and coach. Be coached and coach. Just start doing it and see how that goes. And that's just one way to do things. Stepping out of the parameters and the paradigm of the education system is probably part of it. And I've stepped out of it a lot. Like, sometimes I just do things and I don't know why. Like, right now, again, I'm reminding myself, getting back to this mirror work, it's letting go of the idea that the thought has to come, noodle, percolate, be created, and then come out. I'm not a personal computer. And these are analogies I'm going to keep practicing saying. It's like that idea growing up where personal computers, like, we've got our processor, we've got our GPUs, we've got our CPUs, all that stuff. That was the old way of thinking. Now we realize, oh my God, we've got this cloud computing, way more powerful to harness the cloud whenever you need to, as much processing power as you want, as little as you want. And what if we are just antennas tuning into our greater cloud? And that's what I see more of now. That's kind of the Akashic records, everything else, everything's kept track of as well. But this link, is there a way to actually sever it? Is there a way to weaken it? Is there a way to shift the channel then? You don't have to upgrade all the hardware, you just shift the channel, the tuning in a little bit. And maybe a clearer signal, that might be a better way to phrase it now. We are getting better at making the signal clearer and clearer again, because for a while we've been dampening that signal. Why have we been dampening the signal though? What has it that these patterns wanted to come up to dampen the signals? And part of it is, how would we fall into that? Like, individually, in this lifetime, it feels like I'm waking up more. And that whole idea, give me a child from 0 to 7 and I can tell you their future. So is it that there is so much conquering that the conquerors wanted to make people more subservient? And in so doing, we've lost a lot of this uniqueness, this unique culture and tuning into different vibrations and frequencies. So was it because of the British coming that the Chinese have changed so much? And the Chinese, because they were invaded by different places. Is it because someone gets fearful of losing, of loss? Like, at first you're trying to gain, and then at some point, then it's the fear of loss. And that's the piece to take a look at for myself, The number doesn't have to be getting to billions. The number is getting to wherever it wants to be in the moment and continue to play with. Like even right now, it's like there's a fear of loss of losing all that we already have. And I think there was a place where these structures made sense. Like there's a reason why things are created. And it's gone over to the next level, like all these complicated insurance investing products. How many of these products do we actually need? They're not bespoke. And how many of them are taking advantage of? Oh my God, my parents got taken advantage of for insurance. My beloved's parents, like it just seems so pervasive. And how do we do that? And how is it? Because there's a part of it probably that I'm thinking, oh, am I taking advantage of people? Am I charging too much? Am I not delivering enough? Am I making myself too important? And I imagine it's continuing to be with those ideas. In a way, I can always say yes, and I can always say no. And that's the piece is, can I have enough of my own sense of self that when I am attacked, I can be with it? Because even Elon Musk, I can see the value he's delivering, and I can see how he can be totally attacked going, you're not worth that. Like nobody's worth that kind of money. Yes and no when you're looking at it from the sense of the dollar number represents how much more someone thinks of themselves than you. What if it's just a number to them? And there's such anger, vitriol from someone else having what seems like too much. I don't have enough. And there is that, there is that ridiculousness in the system. Like even just watching 4 weddings and a funeral yesterday, and he's like, oh, I'm like the 7th richest man in England. Like obviously the royalty first. It's like, why the royalty? How does that actually serve? Part of that is, oh my God, like we can all see, many of us can see the ridiculousness of it. And many of us can't help but want to lift it up, be drawn into it. It's like a moth to a flame. And like he's saying, oh yeah, like I've got 136 rooms in this house, castle. It's like, who needs that as an individual? Like as a collective, sure. And maybe that's it, it's buying a castle as a collective. What would that be like? There's these huge giant mansions for Indian families, and it's like, how do we build something like that actually serves? I've got the noise canceling on still, so train coming by, nice and loud. So leaving some messages for people, leaving some messages for myself, seeing the cloud computing, seeing myself, reminding myself, because I keep saying this to, especially my beloved Liz, if you're the client, what is it that you really want? And right now, I am the client. What is it that I want? If I want her to hear me, I can have her hear me. I can say a bunch of stuff. And that may be a place to start. I am getting lost. I am feeling like I'm getting lost in myself. It's not true, but I'm feeling like I'm getting lost in myself. Like, blah, 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 blah. Again, a reminder from that ceremony, from that retreat. Don't take my head too seriously. Don't get lost in there. Like, stay present. This is part of the genius of me, is staying present. Doing less, being more. I'm sad I'm going to miss out on this last Fit for Service with Aubrey and Vailana. There definitely was a part of me that felt like I should be there. And in an ideal world, in all things, in terms of time, money, space, I would be there. And I had already made a commitment, and I wanted and want to honor that commitment. And every moment that I could have sat with this earlier, I didn't. I did and I didn't. Like I could have sat and go, do I really want to? If I really want to cancel, let's actually have these discussions. Let's have these frickin' discussions. And part of me knew I'd get here, and I didn't take the time. I have fear of some of the conversations. I have fear of the conversations, especially with my beloved. Oh, I want to do this thing. Oh, I haven't quite justified it yet. And there's a reason for the fear of not justifying it, because am I actually ready for all these things yet? Am I just playing? Am I avoiding the things I need to do and avoiding the logistical things I need to do right now? Commitments to actually getting my financial world cleaned up in the next month or two. There's so many exciting things. I want to travel, but how do I clean house? Part of it was even just paying that parking ticket and just paying it, right? Like if I haven't done it for months, just get it done. Like, and part of it when I get a message, like, oh, we still have something yours I haven't sent out. It's like, fucking do something about it. Fucking do something about it. And thank you. Thank you, universe, for helping me do something about things. And now today it's sending out some messages to my dear friends. Look at the new website. Please go here. Please take the next step. Please start your journey. Booking a call with me, booking a call with Marika. I really will benefit from this, and I'll benefit not from you going at this going, oh, I'm just doing this for Nick, but going as if I'm like, I'm doing this for me. And I'm saying this because I'm asking for a favor, and I'm saying this because I know the value that's in this, and I'm saying this because that's how you deliver the value to me and to you with your time. And practice that clarity. Practice that level of clarity. It's nice sitting in a chair right now. Just crack a little bit. Don't feel the need to walk as much today, because this is a much more comfortable height than we'd be. I'm looking at the big fire still too. I've got the lights on, which is a little distraction because it's a little bit bright. I'd like if it was a little less bright. But I figure it's better to have this light than to not, and to actually see myself. And some days maybe I will do with just the fire again, or just the warmth. I'll bring my little warm night light or something else like that. Yeah. And it's funny, I was talking about my own appearance. It's like, oh shoot, I didn't do my hair up or anything else like that. And then I'm noticing it's getting easier just to pull it back. It's getting to be about the right length. And I like that. I like that, being able to just go like this and be like, okay, it's out of my face now. I don't like it when it's in my face all the time. And how do I have it styled in such a way that my beloved likes it? Because I want to look amazing, especially for her. And I forget that. And I have to remind myself, she may not actually know what she wants. She's just used to what she's familiar with. So I have to get clear on who I want to be and how I want to look. That's probably part of it. If I'm actually clear on my look that I actually want, I can actually own it for a while at least. And then if she's really not liking it, then we can think about changing it. German New Medicine. So looking at these events that happen, this is what the breakthrough experience is also trying to impact, is the actual origin event. And for me, I've got some origin events, I've got some origin traumas. And it's who do I want to guide me through those traumas, and how do I identify the traumas better? Because part of me feels like I've identified so much, and part of me recognizes it's like the initial wave that healed the asthma. I didn't even know it was there. like being in that medicine space, that's part of the beauty. I can feel the waves that just happen as I contemplate. I was like, whoa. If I didn't know that was there, what else is there? And a reminder for me, and for many, we don't often know how things, we may not consciously remember how things start, or I may not. And I have to remind myself, like, not that I'm unique, but everyone is different. They have their own way of being. And it's like someone was saying, it's like, I can remember since I was young, 1 year old, it's like totally both not just possible, but probable for them. For me, I don't remember like the first 5 years almost. It's probably related with almost compartmentalizing myself. And there's a lot of my childhood that I compartmentalized myself because I felt like I couldn't be, like I was so anxious. Grade 3 was a big part of it, going into school. And then after that, the smarts seemed to play a part. Like I feel like I can remember a little bit more 4, 5, and 6. But then hitting grade 7, it's like, oh my God, not knowing how to interact with girls, not knowing, like I remember the girls' names, Jody and Debbie and Megan, all girls that I thought were really beautiful and had it together and popular. And I was like, I knew of them, but didn't know how to talk to them, didn't know how to become popular, didn't know how to hang out with other boys either. Like I don't remember any of the boys really, because I was friends with, I think, Corey when I was younger, but that stopped because there's other guys that were much more fun to be around, I'm sure. And part of it was with I had such a low sense of self, my own self-approval, I think, that I didn't know how to be who to be. And I think that's a thing that even right now I've started to grow more of, but it still feels weak. Sense of self, trauma, childhood, few memories, especially positive ones. And I imagine, like my son, I was a cheerful child for my parents. And I can remember, like, I was mischievous and would talk back and talk out and all that stuff. And it's interesting that as an adult, I have very few positive memories of being a child. I can remember playing with G.I. Joes till I was about 10, so having an active imagination. Oh. But I don't know what that means that I don't have that part and how to unpack that in a way. And part of that will probably be through ceremony, and part of that may be through these sessions with Elena or anyone else. And having a place for this, and then I'll have a place specifically for sexuality that I look forward to chatting with Ali about. And in that one, it's leaving a message and being more clear, how do we want to structure this? There's an infinite number of ways. Money can be the easiest one. Sustainable fair exchange is what matters to me. And I'll let them get back to me. And I'm happy to start after the summit. Right now I have this call today. I have the things coming up. And I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed. So it's interesting that I feel that already. So how do we actually step into these practices? Like it's already learning and healing. And some of this I can notice myself looking away. Like I'm just, there is, one of the main drivers for me has been shame and guilt. And again, not coming from blame. Like, I think my parents are fucking awesome. I wouldn't be here right now. Everything is perfect. And there would be a soundingness like this is blame because I'm noticing what's there and I'm addressing it. And I don't want to not address things anymore. I think that's not the way to go for me. Shame and guilt, and I think a lot of it is through that Catholic faith, that Catholic religion. Like it's such a way to manage populations is with fear and shame and guilt. And I remember those videos that we had to watch about sexuality, about I can't remember what else there were videos about, but it was just like, oh my God, like and it felt ridiculous. Why am I watching this thing? And it gets in, like even in the ridiculousness of it, it gets in. And I remember having such shame of the impulses and not knowing what to do with them. Never even considering out there. And then I remember holding on to that idea of the first kiss so much. And then the first kiss is not anything like what I wanted. There was another girl who wanted to kiss me. And I was like, this isn't how I wanted to go. And then I think there's probably shame and guilt because I fucked that up. Like, how did I fuck that up? It's the same thing even. Actually, it's the opposite. The kind of beginnings of having a chance for sexual encounters and then me blocking myself because I didn't know how to be receptive, how to be expressive, how to be asking, how to be requesting. It was just not even realizing how strong that block was. And noticing that now, being reminded some of that lurks, is the word, in the background where I'm not fully expressing myself because there's still blocks. I'm cock blocking myself still. All right. And I imagine there was such a discomfort and it's lasted so long. It's like almost post-traumatic stress. It's like, how do I keep practicing letting go of that stress and letting go of the idea I need to perform? And probably part of that was and I mentioned this, when I was suicidal, depressed, the medications I was on, and then the anorgasmia that was there. And that was part of it too. It's like, oh my God, like all of these things are interlinked. Like the body remembers these things and then the mind remembers the interpretation, says, why do I want to go through that again? Let's avoid it altogether. That's a better solution. And then repeating pain patterns that are more familiar versus actually saying, hey, how do I want to shift this out? And that's part of it even. Again, doing this mirror work, I keep coming back to it because I'm trying to remind myself to reinforce this muscle. Regardless of how this keeps going in the future, even if I don't record myself, seeing myself, doing this work, uncovering, and having fun. Like, how do I have fun with myself? Part of it has been that fear that I had even for my first ceremonies of going crazy, like the self-talk going crazy, looping. I remember looping the hours before ceremony going, how did I get here? 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 And trying to grasp reality. And right now, I imagine with this mirror work, I'm deconstructing my reality and repatterning. And I'm just imagining right now Doctor Strange, the mirror universe. I'm almost like creating my own mirror universe. So if someone's like, I'm gonna trap you in a mirror universe, I'm like, cool. I'm just gonna be with myself and keep looking and keep chatting and being like, this is so fucking cool. Just exploring the explorations. Like this lifetime already feels like there could be lifetimes of analysis. And that analysis and that paralysis, and part of it with this going back and analyzing is practicing actually letting it go. How do I actually be in the moment? Like how those are usually the most divine moments when I am so present with the taste sensation of delicious food, or so present with the perfection of what's going on in a ceremony or in a breath, or in the middle of some procedure, or looking some vista, or hiking, or playing with my son, or I remember making love and feeling like I'm the luckiest person on earth. And it's so funny that so much of time and life is spent looking back, curating pictures, curating old stuff, curating, and how much of our life has been put towards that now. Like those structures, you have to put these things in place. Like we have to have all this stuff. And that's part of it right now. This is the going into it. What is it that I'm trying to get into? How do I actually create structures that make it simpler and simpler and simpler? And it starts with making it complex, but let's make it complex and big and then make it simple. The tools and the techniques, and making them simpler and simpler. Making them more accessible, making them more fun, without losing the essence of it, right? Or inviting people into the spaces where you can explore. What do I want? Do I just want to participate? Great. Do I want to actually learn? Great. Both are okay. And I appreciate that from these programs. Like once you go to one, you get to come back as alumni for half price. It's like there are some structures they've created that are really good, especially being able to hold the groups and the containers and have so many people come through. And I can see that, like, he's not trying to get 200 people at once, but rather 50, 60 people, and continue to do that. And that's the beauty of having created his own financial wealth and independence. Like, there's a part that he doesn't need to create more out of this, and allows for the space of generous affiliate links, like 30% affiliate. That's fantastic. Now, how do I actually harness that? Past the hour mark. I wasn't sure if I'd get here, and not surprising. What else wants to be said now before doing a little bit of work? Or is it time to do a little bit of work first? Let's see. I'm starting to get more clear that I can create this call however I want, and I may jump around a bit, and it's okay. And this is the point, to jump around a bit and have someone actually track and follow me and follow my craziness. And follow with actually taking a look at what are the better questions to ask as well. I can actually outsource that. What are the better questions to ask? Draft of past versus present. It's funny because I'm like, I have to have at least a few hours to myself each day. And my favorite times are in the flow state. And I'm reminding myself, just because right now in the foreseeable future, I want to make sure I have these times myself, doesn't mean that this is the way it has to go forever. That's probably the reminder for myself. It's just like the enemas. Like, I was enjoying them, and I still enjoy them. And it got to the point where it was like just the thing that I had to do. Like, oh my God, if I don't have 2 hours to do this, then what's going to go on? And for right now, this is my thing. At some point, it will change. I won't need to reflect this much. I'll probably be like, what's there to talk about? I'm already clear of this, clear of this, clear of this, clear of this. Cool. Right now, it's diving into again, opening these doors again, because there's stuff behind us. I'm just going back and contemplating my first ayahuasca ceremony. There's so much Egyptian stuff that came up, feeling like I was actually back at the temple, feeling like she was a priestess, a healer from there, feeling like the rain was falling on me. Like all these sensations, feeling like I was completely lost into the nothingness. And it was terrifying. And right now, part of doing this mirror work is realizing there's definitely not nothingness here. Like there's a lot of strong sense of identity, of story, of things. Like there's an infinite number of things that can blob fall out of my mouth. And in that moment, it was terrifying because I was losing, I didn't know Nick, I didn't know body, I didn't know space, I didn't know cosmos, I didn't know light, I didn't know dark, I didn't know anything. I didn't even have sensation. And that felt really scary, coming back to start to bite myself just to feel sensation. Such a reminder, like when I can see others addicted to their pain and it's a reflection of me, where am I addicted to my pain? And the pain being an anchor point for being alive. And just remembering being alive, existing is eternal. So let go of the addiction to any of it. Like the fire is eternal, and it can only be the fire by letting go of each moment, because it's just dancing instantly, dancing on, dancing on, dancing on, dancing on, dancing on. And in a way, that's life. It's a flicker of a candle, it's gone. And I don't know how the continuity works. I don't know. And then if I go back to the very first time, it wasn't the first time, because I think we had some mushrooms and camping trips before that. I can't remember it fully, but the first time I really remember being gifted LSD for my birthday and just and actually feeling another soul, like feeling the souls in the room. And then actually being able to project my hearing to be right up next to the airplanes. Like actually being able to transport that sensation. And then it reminds me, how do I shift my locus of consciousness? And there's that idea from Autobiography of a Yogi, like you can actually astral project. And that's probably, and I'm getting a little bit of chill, that's probably what I was getting to more than my brain thinking, I can just isolate the noises and amplify certain noises. It's like actually astral projecting. But it's the waking up to these other skill sets. Oh, got a little tension. Part of it, I think, this tension between the shoulder blades is when I'm actually pushing a little too hard. Pushing against my own resistance. Oh. I am looking forward to more body work. I am looking forward to getting more things clear again. That's probably it. Like before I go through my next journey, how do we get things more clear again? All right. I think I've got enough for right now. It's time to leave a couple other messages, and I'll come back. Ciao for now.